Hello and welcome to another edition of a series I like to call Screen to Closet, media-inspired outfits for an everyday wardrobe. I bet you thought I was going to do a really long one, didn't ya? Keep you on your toes. No, finally settled on a name. Thank you everybody for giving me the suggestions. This one was my favorite, so it is now the name of this series. And hi, if you're new here, my name's Annie. I make things. I just make things, all kinds of things. And the last episode of this series, I made this adorable outfit, which also has a very cute capelet that I did not want to get out. So, but there it is. How cute! Which was inspired by the big pumpkin guy from Over the Garden Wall. What are we doing today? I'm so glad you asked. Today we're going easy because in my last video, I made this outfit over here, which was 3 weeks worth of hand sewing, basically. As a reward to myself for finishing this outfit, I decided to watch 2005's Pride and Prejudice. Nothing else, right? I didn't have to work on anything while I did it. I just got to relax and watch the film. And was reminded of this dress. It's time to make it. And we're not doing any kind of redesign for this one, which is slightly uncharacteristic of this series, but it's just a cute dress. I have this shirt, I made it already. So, and I think this dress will fit in really nicely with my wardrobe. And it's just come on, by itself, it's just an everyday dress, right? I have a really nice fabric for it that I just picked up at an estate sale last weekend. This cute brown, which is a wool poly blend. Now, I usually don't do any kind of synthetic material when it comes to my own wardrobe, but I'm gonna let it slide this time because it was just perfect timing. Like, I found this and then that's I mean, what am I gonna do? Like, not make the dress? Come on. I think hers is a plain brown wool, and this one has like notes of dark brown and red in it. I'll bring it closer. There we go. It's a quite cute fabric, so we're gonna make it out of that. Before we can get into the patterning, let's take a closer look at some of the details in this dress. I'm slightly confused on how it closes. So we have the 3 buttons. We have the 3 buttons right here in the front. Sometimes this dress looks like it's diagonal. Other times it seems like it's straight. So we're gonna make it straight. And this movie was set in the Regency era, but this isn't really a Regency dress. The waistline is somewhere between an empire and her waist. It's a rather weird waistline, and I think I will just drop it down another inch or 2 to bring it all the way down to my waist. Because hers does this weird thing where it is at the waist in her back, but then comes up and is in the weird spot in the front. So let's make a slight change to that and we're just gonna drop it down to our waist. It'll look cuter that way, I promise. It crosses over, so I think it closes like this somehow. And then we have a hook right here, and then it is smooth in the front, and then everywhere else is gathered. I have a vague idea of how to pattern this, so why don't we just go ahead and move on to the patterning process, shall we? See you at the table. After tracing my block, I extend the bottom center out so that I have something to lap on top of each other, and then give the neck a V shape. After that, I take out the darts and replace them with princess seams, but I'm moving the bottom of the seam over to make it look more like the reference. And since we've cut our pieces, we need to add seam allowance. I can't really see the seams in the back, but I'm just assuming they are also princess seams. So I do the same thing to the back that I did to the front. Oh, and I also cut off an inch from the bottom of all the pieces to make a waistband. All right, so we have the whole pattern for the top, and most of the time I can just go ahead and cut whatever it is that I'm cutting out and put it together because it's from my block, so it's almost guaranteed to fit. But this one was a little weird with the like waist tape and the overlap of it. So I'm just gonna make a quick mock-up. Well, let's go ahead and throw a mock-up together, shall we? Make sure this fits. Okay. I'm glad I made a mock-up because slight fit issues. The front, notice this like pulling lines here. I have not given my bubbies enough room. Don't know how I managed that, but I've let the seam, peekaboo. I got this little like Regina George situation happening over here because I wanted to see if letting the seam out right here would fix the issue, and it did. Notice how smooth it is over here. So that's all we need to do is just add more here. And then in the back, it's a little weird. If I stand like this, oh, okay, don't know what that was. Like this, it goes away. So if I'm in shrimp mode, perfect. So we're just gonna take that out. And then everything else fits really well. And then because of the way we have constructed it, the buttons will be at a slight diagonal, but I think this is how they did it. And I think that's why sometimes it looks diagonal and sometimes it looks straight. Now that the top is done, we need to do the skirt. Can you guess what pattern I'm gonna use for the skirt? That's right, my 8-paneled gore skirt. Good job. Lizzie's dress goes all the way down. Well, actually it's like incredibly long. Like it's too long. I don't know how she didn't like trip and die over this dress because it is just pooling around her. I will do, if I have enough fabric, a floor length skirt, which is abnormal for me. I usually like my skirts to end around the like mid shin area. But I wanted to stay true to the real costume for this one. And I felt like this was a more like winter dress. So it makes sense to make it longer. And in the future, if I decide that I hate having a floor length skirt, I can just cut it. You know, no big deal. But it is, I need to mark, I need a pen. Okay, on this side, it starts to gather here, which is where we have our overlap little strap here pinned. And then on the other side, I guess we'll make it like even. So like here. So then it'll be flat here and then we'll start gathering around the rest. Great, let's pattern this skirt. Hi, I'm back. Okay, I was really looking at hers and I think I'm gonna make a left and a right of the center front panel and keep the left side of the panel coming all the way over. But on the right side, I've like kind of pinned it so that it goes a little bit more straight down. And that feels a little bit more right to me. Right. Is that how the L goes? I don't know, I can't do it upside down. I think the R is right. Yeah, that's probably right. Okay. So I've just made this slight adjustment here so that the line goes down all the way, which does mean that I need to keep these front panels straight. Okay, now let's pattern the skirt. I used the mock-up to make the adjustments to the pattern, adding more to the apex to give my bubbies some more room. And then I decided to give the front center piece a left and right side so that the top of the two pieces is more centered, or whatever I just told you like 20 seconds ago. Okay, and let's just fast forward through all this chaos because I start making pattern pieces that is the center but opened up, and then I've added part of the side to it. And I've cut the side piece in half, so now there's a left and right side piece. I don't know what I was thinking. It made sense at the time. I should really start taking notes on what I'm doing and why. You know what would be really great is if I could get like a little guy, like a little gnome or something, to come in and like take notes for me and look at me very judgmentally if I pick up my phone. I would get so much work done if I had a little judgmental guy watching me. Oh, sorry, let's continue. I went ahead and put the lining together. Look how nice the fit is. Ooh. The reason I put the lining together is because the skirt is breaking my brain a little bit. I love how I start this video and I'm like, oh, let me do a little easy thing. And then proceeds to make the project as complicated as I can. There was an easier way to do this. Didn't have to make it look just like it does on screen, but here we are. Top, perfect. It is perfect now. Now I just need to do the skirt. I don't know how. I can't figure out how to do it without having 2 layers of skirt in the front. Okay, let me explain. Let me show you the pattern that I have drafted up, which is not gonna work. The back pieces are fine. I don't have to mess with those again, but the front pieces need fixing. Okay, so here's the center front that I have attached the side to for some reason, but I didn't need to because this strip ends right where the skirt center front ends perfectly. So I didn't need to add the side panel to it. So I had to take that off. Now the issue is, since the front kind of, you know, it's like, the front is like a wrap top, kind of. So how do I attach these? I think I'm gonna have to sleep on it because I'm getting really tired. And with there being left and rights of things, it's gonna be a lot easier to make mistakes, as I did with the lining, because I sewed it backwards because the lining, the seams needed to be on the outside currently for the lining because it gets sandwiched between the other piece. So I had to take the front pieces off from the back and then just detach the front all together and then re-sew it together so that it would sit right. Anyways, I don't know what the answer is currently. So I'm gonna think on it. I'm gonna come back tomorrow and I can tell you what I came up with. Hopefully it's clever and hopefully I've figured it out because currently no idea. See you tomorrow. I figured it out. And I would feel clever if I didn't feel like I was overthinking it yesterday and making it more difficult than it needed to be, because the solution really wasn't that hard. Sometimes you just need a break, I guess. But it is quite a mess. The skirt part is not sewn down, it is just pinned on because I just needed to make sure that my idea was going to work out before I started all the sewing. But it's just basically a wrap dress that's attached instead of completely wrapping. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Let me just show you, which is another reason why I made the mock-up, because trying to explain it wasn't working. Here's the little part that comes over. Yes, here, which is attached to the front of the skirt. And we undo that. Oh, hello, what is this? A little placket. And then over here, there will be a bar on the inside. Ta-da! So this way I can put the dress on, and then that gets hooked there, and then that gets hooked there, and then buttons get buttoned here. Ta-da! And then all 3 pieces, this front skirt placket, the front of the skirt and the side of the skirt, are all sewn down together down here. And there you go. Really wasn't that hard. It was a little hard. I'm gonna pat myself on the back anyway, because I did it. So now we're ready to cut out the real thing. I'm gonna make a slight adjustment because there's a lot, like maybe too much fabric in the very center back. So I'm gonna take just a smidge of that out. And that's the only adjustments I'm gonna make to the skirt. I cannot believe how hard I overthought that. To be fair, I'm a real visual person. So I really needed to put those pieces together physically in order to really think it through. So there we go. All right, let's make this dress. I just wanted to show you that everything so very nearly fits. So I have all the pieces. That is the placket that I'm gonna piece together at the very end because you don't see it. So I'm just gonna do that last. Here is the side pieces, or the center front pieces that get cut out separately. So I've just kind of placed them there, and I will cut them out last, after I cut around this. And then up here, there is just a little bit of room at the very top where I can put the waistband. So yeah, we're just squeaking by on this one. Only thing that I'm not happy with, but I am okay with is that some of these pieces, like this one, is not getting cut on the grain like it should. It's kind of at an angle, which is like whatever. So is this piece. Like I can't help it, it just has to be. And then this piece right here, the center back piece, is supposed to be one cut on the fold, but I could not make it work. Could not find another spot on the fold for it, so it's gonna be two pieces. And really, I don't care about the grain ones, those are fine. They're side pieces, and they're gonna be all gathered anyway, so there's no visual thing there that's gonna bother me. But the center back will bother me a little bit, but it is behind me and I won't see it. So it's kind of none of my business. So maybe it won't bother me that much, but currently slightly upsetting. All right, let's cut this baby out, shall we? I've gone through and interfaced the waistband and the front center pieces because there's going to be buttons and buttonholes put into these, and I wasn't quite sure of the placement, so I just thought we'll just interface the whole piece. But now I will not get them confused because there is a very clear wrong and right side. I did recently rewatch Young Frankenstein for Halloween. Nobody does angry quite like Gene Wilder. He is so good at it. And he's also really good at the deadpan comedy. This is slightly off topic. Not really, but you know who looks like Gene Wilder? Like they could be Gene Wilder's son? What's his name? The guy from The Bear. He's got like 5 names. The Bear. Jeremy Allen White. Jeremy Allen White looks so much like Gene Wilder. And don't argue with me. Go look at pictures of him side by side. He's there. You're lying if you say you don't see it. While I have you here, let me ask you a question. Is this pattern something you would want? I look like a poodle. Adorable. I've been playing around with the idea recently to digitize my patterns and start putting them out in some way, but I don't know if there's enough interest in it for me to warrant doing it. I quite like this fabric. I think this is gonna look really good. I think this fabric is like the perfect drape. Back to the subject that I was actually trying to discuss with you is, do you want my patterns? I know I don't always draft my own patterns, and sometimes I use patterns, especially when I'm working with historical projects, but when I do, like this project, is this something you would like? I feel like maybe this specific dress would be a popular choice, because I know I'm not the only one who loves this dress, and I do feel pretty good about the pattern. Not to brag, but to brag a little. Blueberries! Y'all, at some point I had convinced myself that I don't like blueberries, and I don't know where that came from. Is it like a leftover thing from when I was a kid? Like, blueberries are awesome. You know what I like more than blueberries? Blackberries. I love blackberries. Very underrated fruit. I've done this thing that I saw as like a ADHD hack where you take the condiments out of the door of your fridge and put them in the drawer, and then you put your fruit or vegetables in the door, so that way when you open your fridge, you see the fruit. You see it, and you know it's there, which has been so great. Because like, you know the condiments are there. You don't need to remember that they're there. You don't need that visual aid. Like, but you do open the fridge and look in and be like, oh, I'm hungry. But not really. I'm actually just kind of a little bit bored. So I'm at the fridge looking for a little snack. And then you open the fridge and right there in the door, there's blueberries. And you're just like, perfect. And you just like grab a hand. I just reach in there and grab a handful. It's been the best thing ever. Sorry, that was a really off-topic tangent, let's go sew this together, shall we? Since this garment is actually going into my wardrobe and it is something that I will wear and wash, we need to take a few extra steps and serge the seams so that we don't have any raw edges inside the skirt. Now let's sew them up. Then trim the princess seams and give it all a good press. Attach the lining to the outside of the fabric, going from the front and around the neck and then back down the front. Hello, welcome to a new day. I really thought I could finish this yesterday, but after I had sewn the lining completely together to the front, I realized I forgot the button loops. I might have thrown a little bit of a fit and left the room for the day. It's really not a big deal. I just need to unpick this like 4 spots that the loops will go in and then re-sew it. It's a really simple fix. Making mistakes like that is part of sewing. It is so rare that I complete a whole project without a single mistake. In fact, I can't even think of a time that I've done that. So if you're new to sewing and you're becoming discouraged because you keep having to unpick things, everybody does. It's not just you, it's fine. It's okay. This is why seam rippers exist and why everybody has one. But the skirt is all sewn together. And for buttons, I found what looks like almost the exact button that's on Lizzie Bennet's dress. We'll zoom in next to my eyeball so it focuses. Right, so let's go back and add in these button loops. Button loops. First, we need to mark where they're going to be placed so that they are evenly spaced apart. Then we take the seam ripper and pull out the stitches in that very small space, just big enough to put the loops through. I'm using the string that I got for loop braiding, but it was the right color and it seems like it was gonna work. Measure the loops to make sure they're big enough for the buttons to go through, clip them in place, and then sew back up the seam. The strings for the loops is fairly thin, so I want to change the stitch length on my machine to be very short, so that I'm more likely to go through the string multiple times. Test the loop to make sure that it's nice and secured, and it won't just pop out the first time I put a button through it. Now the button loops are in, we can finish sewing up the rest of the top by opening the lining out and pressing the seams towards the lining. Take it over to the machine, and now we're going to understitch it by stitching just like 2 millimeters away from the seam on the lining side. This is attaching the lining to the seam allowance. This is going to help keep the lining on the inside and keep it from like kind of curling out to the outside. Take it back over to the ironing board and give it another press. I'm showing you a lot of ironing, but it's on purpose. It's really important to press your seams and just make sure that you're pressing everything as you go. It just makes things look so much nicer. See, easy fix. There's no need to throw a fit about it. Guys, come on. You don't have to be so dramatic all the time. I'm gonna mark the buttons. So I have this loop pinned exactly where I want that top button to be because our reference photo, there's just the slightest gap right here. So I have fixed it to where there's just a little gap, just a smidge. So now let's mark out the rest of them. Maybe I should use a pin color that's not a color in the fabric. That is also hard to see. I can't see that at all. Okay, one more time. Let's use this one. Aha. Success. Oh, I'm gonna mark where I want the bar to go. The hook and bar. That sounds like a Western theme saloon. Hook and bar. Now that's done. Let's finish up the armholes. I'm trying to figure out if I can sew these inside out and still be able to turn it. Does that work or does that not work? How would I turn it? Oh, I can't. I don't think I can do that. Okay, I see where I messed up. If I hadn't attached the sides, I could have done that. But since we have attached the sides and I'm not going through and undoing that now, we are just gonna turn the seams in and then we can hand stitch the lining to the outside. Well, the inside of the outside fabric. Let me do that and then we can attach this skirt. She's almost done. So close. Let's change the stitch length on my machine to be as long as it can go. And then we're gonna sew 2 lines of gathering stitches across the whole skirt except for the very front center panel. Now I can sit on the floor and gather it all up. Oh, and here's me realizing I had sewn the placket to the wrong side of the skirt. So now I have to unpick that and then sew it to the correct side. Okay, now that that's fixed, I can attach the skirt to the top, matching up the seams and then gathering the skirt to fit into the spaces. Now that the skirt's attached, I need to mark out the hem, standing on a big tall pot so that I can reach the little puffer thing of this apparatus that blows chalk onto the dress, and then this allows me to cut the hem and I'm able to do it by myself without having to drag my spouse in here. Okay. It's looking rather cute, but I do have a couple of issues with it that I will need to fix. The first one being quite minor, but does need some unpicking. Not a big deal, is need to take out some of the scathers and bring it over a little bit because we're just a little too close to the flap. And so this can easily kind of just like come out here, which we don't really want. So we're just gonna move this over a little bit. The thing that is a big deal and also requires some unpicking is that forgot pockets. Rather irritating, but that's okay. Let me show you how to add pockets to an existing garment, shall I? I remember asking if you guys wanted to see that before and you all got very excited. So here we are. We have a somewhat finished garment that does not have any pockets. Let's fix it. Let's start by marking where our pockets are gonna go. So this isn't gonna work with every dress. If you have something that's knit, I would not add pockets to it because it will like pull. Like if you put anything in your pocket, it's gonna pull it down and it's gonna look really weird. And if you don't have a waistband, I wouldn't do it also because I don't know. I mean, I guess you could, but your pockets will just kind of be like free flopping around in your dress. So, you know, it's up to you on this one. I'm gonna mark where I want my pockets. So they are gonna go in our side seam. How do I stand? This feels like a comfortable spot. Okay, so I'll start here and go down to about right there. Let's take our dress off, find those marks and transfer them to the other side. This would be easier if I would just lay the dress down. We're gonna pick the pocket an inch above the mark that we made and an inch below. I know I made this joke earlier, but like, I really did make this so hard on myself. And it was supposed to be an easy little project. It's just a simple little dress. We've been doing really crazy things lately, so we can handle just a little simple dress. Now we need to cut out some pockets. We obviously do not have any fabric to spare that is pocket-sized from the scraps of this dress, so we will have to make it out of another fabric, but so that you don't see the pocket, we're gonna add a placket. Let me show you. We start out by cutting 4 pocket shapes out of the lining fabric and take some scrap fashion fabric and place it on top of the pockets. I'm gonna trace out a little placket to go on top of the piece and then cut it out again. We're gonna fold under the long part so that the raw edge is underneath the placket, and then that gets sewn down. Serge around the edges of all 4 pockets separately. Now we attach the pocket right sides together to the skirt, making sure to attach the pocket with the placket on the back side piece. Now pull the pocket to the inside of the skirt, and we can sew around the pockets and close up the skirt at the same time. And then the top of the pocket gets sewn into the waistband, and we will do that by stitching in the ditch from the front of the skirt. And the last thing we need to do is attach the buttons, and we do that by hand. And look at that, we got a full dress. And since we're towards the end of the video, don't forget to hit the like button and let me know in the comments if you would like the pattern for this dress, and let me know how I did. I feel like I nailed this one. It's really cute. All right, let's move on to the reveal. Try watching one of these next.